All right, Michigan and Xfinity. So this lap time, I wouldn't pay too much attention to. It's super track temperature dependent. Here's my settings. The brake bias, I don't know. That's arbitrary. We're not going to use brake. 16 to 1 plus 2 is what I use though for my steering settings. Just comfort based, as usual. So we're going to make this first lap hot lap. You can probably do second if you really wanted to. But usually Michigan is like one of those tracks that's big enough to where your tires heat up adequately just from the outlap. At least in my opinion. The pro cheese strats might be a little different. So we have to go a little bit out of the gas here. I'm just going to ride around at like that 60 until the car bites towards the bottom, and then I'll go full throttle. Kind of rotate the car around the corner here. Should have a good run. I mean, I think we cut here. We don't need to. I'm going there. Just gonna hold it until it bites, and then we're gonna slowly raise the throttle. Get the car going off the corner. Nice. Turn 3 is gonna be a little bit of a tighter entry than turn 1. So we're gonna let off a little bit more. Let the car get to the seam. Probably could have full throttled a little bit earlier there. I had room to full throttle about half a second earlier there, but with the shape of the corner, that's a pretty good example. All right, let's take a look at that. Not crazy. Not going to be a lot to talk about with this lap. So yeah, getting into the corner here, I'm aiming for the second seam down, getting down to like 60-70% throttle. You can't go full here or else the rear will disengage. About that 60% is where you want to be. I slowly start raising it, getting it a little bit closer to the wall, and then go full throttle when the car fully bites back down the track. What I mean by biting back down the track is at some point it stops wanting to go towards the wall and it wants to go towards the bottom. If you never reach that point, then you are holding too much throttle into the corner. You probably don't need to cut the track like that. Okay. So turn 1, a little bit of a wider entry. So I go down to that 60-ish, 50%, get down to the seam, and we're just gonna hold our throttle in that exact spot and just try to keep our steering so that we're stuck to the seam. And then we're going full throttle when the car finally is like stuck to the seam. So it took me a little bit, right? We get down here and we're hitting a lot of like, okay, we're getting a little loose, we're getting a little tight, we're getting a little loose, we're getting a little loose. And then finally the car's like, okay, I like where I'm at. And that's when I go full throttle. And then just let the car up the track. A little bit easier said than done at the slow-mo. So let's take it full speed. So just hold the half throttle, 60%. Keep it on that seam. Once it bites, we raise the throttle, unload the wheel, let the car up to the wall. Once you get the muscle memory for it, it should be pretty easy. Next here, we're going to arc it a little bit more because it's turn 3. Instead of going to 50, we're going to 40. And we're getting down to that seam, and we're going to just roll it. And you can see that it's still sliding up, but now it bit right there. So you see, we're coming up, and then at this moment, it's like, okay, we're good now. And honestly, I probably could have full throttled a little bit earlier, like I said. But let's take it at full speed. So 40% instead of 50. Get to where you want to go. Roll it. It bites, go. I could have used the natural loose condition of the car there to probably push for a little bit more speed. Maybe half a tenth or so. But still the shape of it is what you want, right? You want to get pointed early. You want to arc it a little bit. You still want to get down to the seam early. You want to roll that seam until it bites, and then you want to go. And then just let the car up to the wall. Honestly, there's not much more than that to the long run, so we'll just talk about it for a couple laps here. The Michigan's a bit multi-groove. Like, you can run right by the wall sometimes, but It seems like in these Xfinity cars, a lot of the times they become just single file along this first seam line. Don't really want to use the bottom that has less banking. Just make sure that you're getting out of the throttle early enough to where the car is actually responding to what you're doing. If you're getting out of the throttle but the car is unresponsive to any of your wheel inputs, that means you did it too late. Very easy to overdrive these corners because you can drive however deep into them without really feeling any effects of it until later on in the corner. So you see I give up a little bit of time in the center there just so that it's a little bit more balanced. I kicked out the rear a little bit more than I wanted to there. I think the rear tire is going to be the one that wears on this. So the goal for saving tires here is just to keep our car under us. Make sure that we're not getting loose and we're not getting tight. I'm just keeping the angle of my wheel to where none of my tires are wanting to fight with me. Like, I can be sliding up to the wall if it means I'm not fighting the car. That was a little bit early of a throttle up. Pretty easy to slide your right rear off of 2 there. So you want to be really diligent in getting down to the seam and just waiting there patiently. Turn 3, once you make the corner, it kind of opens up and you can go. A little bit of a loose moment there. Don't love that. We'll do one more lap here. I know these laps take a while. So we're going to arc it a little bit more. Just going to wait on the seam. Be very patient down here. And then it's going to make our exit a little bit easier. A little bit of a loose moment when I go full throttle. That probably tells me I should be a little bit smoother up on the throttle. We don't want the car kicking loose the moment we touch the throttle. It means we're not smooth enough. And honestly, I'll do one more lap here. Honestly, you can be smooth. You can be a little bit rougher in 3 and 4 than 1 and 2 just because of the angle of your wheel when you're getting on the throttle. It's going to be slightly different, but that difference means a lot. So arc, roll it in, get on the seam, smooth throttle. There we go. Better me. I'm not very good at smooth throttling. I kind of just like going immediately to where I want to go. And that gets punished in some cars, but not in others. Let's see if I can go full throttle here. So yeah, the full throttle, like, you see how I'm sliding up the track, but it didn't, like, kick out my tire immediately. Which means that, like, you could be a little bit more flat-footed on, but, I mean, you don't have, like, it's still better not to be, but it just kind of goes to show you that turn 2 is the one that you need to be especially careful on the throttle. And probably right rear burning more here. Yeah, right rear burns more when I'm hanging it out loose. So if I wasn't getting loose, they would burn evenly, and that's what we're looking for. So just try to keep the car neutrally handling as much as possible. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.